All right, welcome back to episode 12 of the More Doors podcast. We have a special guest on today. You're going to want to tune in to listen because this person has purchased over $70 million in commercial real estate. We're going to get started right now. Intro. All right, welcome back to episode 12 of the More Door podcast. We're excited to bring you today's show, just like every other one, by the way. But we've got an amazing guest who's going to come on and share how they have purchased over $70 million in commercial real estate. They've gone full cycle on 4 deals with an average total return of 288% for their investors. So this is going to be a great one. Last week's show was really, really good.
Yeah.
And the one before that, the episode 10, we had the interview on. What was that one? I'm blanking out real fast.
Episode 10?
Yes.
Before that one, we had...
Oh,
no,
I thought you remembered.
We're going to have to edit this shit out.
I know. We just do so many podcasts.
Yeah.
It was after Sam.
No, we did Sam and then Tony. I think we spitballed a few after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely going to.
Yeah, they're all running together now.
We're definitely going to have to edit this.
Yeah, we don't need to edit this. This is
Kaylee,
real.
Don't pay attention to what we're saying right now.
This is real live. We're having fun. It's raw. And so today's show is brought to you by a Deep Blue Capital. Go to deepbluere.com if you're wanting to learn more about the projects that Deep Blue is investing in. If you want to learn how to grow your money, maybe have some tax write-offs. You've heard me say it before, we all want to limit how much we pay in taxes, right? We don't want to give it to the man. We want to keep it and let it grow and build wealth, that legacy wealth. Just go to deepbluere.com. Sign up for the newsletter, see what projects we're investing in and what we're analyzing right now. And so today we have Kaylee McMahon on, a.k.a. the Apartment Queen. And she is originally from Portland, Oregon, and now Kaylee lives in Dallas and is a force of nature in the multifamily real estate space. So she began her journey in residential real estate, did all the flipping. So the flipping thing, note buying, private lending. She launched her own app and is now a full-time syndicator. And if you heard me earlier say this, Kaylee has purchased over $70 million in commercial real estate, has gone full cycle on 4 deals with that average return of over 288% for her and their investors. She is also an Amazon bestseller, host of the #1 leading ladies podcast, and so much more. Most importantly, Kaylee is the single most important voice for empowering women across the country to invest in apartments. So we're excited to have Kaylee on. Let's bring her in.
There she is.
Hey, Kaylee.
Howdy, y'all.
Hey, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Doing okay. Just trying to keep all my ducks in a row and, like we were talking about earlier, balancing managing and asset managing and construction and raising money and all the things, and keeping your sanity too.
Good luck with that.
The last one seems like a lower priority for most of us recently.
Right?
It's crazy.
That would be my first of the day is meditation. Yeah, for sure.
Likewise. We should just do a whole, we don't ask enough questions on this show about routines and mindfulness and things like
self-care.
that.
Hashtag self-care, bro.
Hashtag
we got to do
self-care.
an episode. Hashtag self-care.
I think we should.
Absolutely. At one point I had meditated for 400 days in a row.
Really?
Wow.
I can tell that you've broken that cycle. Yeah.
I think my record's probably 30 or 40 before I miss a day.
Yeah.
400 is very impressive.
Yeah.
I also have opinions about that because I used to be a junkie for making sure that I could get my counted minutes on Headspace as high as possible. And I've recently gone away from the Headspace app because I realized I was obsessing about something that was the exact antithesis of mindfulness, and that is just trying to get a particular stat or KPI just for the hell of it. And so I got rid of Headspace and just started using the timer on my phone to time my 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night.
Awesome.
Confession time.
Yeah.
Trust tree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kaylee, we're just opening up all the things to you. So tell us, with that, we all have our bios, right? But can you give us a more condensed version of who actually Kaylee is, right? Because you went full cycle, you've done the residential side, you went to the lending side, you've done it all. So, what really got you started in this whole real estate space in the first place?
In the first place, it was an accident, to tell you the real truth. I had a personal organizing business. I had been working, building dental practices in a corporate setting as a distributor rep. And it was okay, but I just had no freedom to create anything. And that's actually what I'm really good at. And, probably 20 ideas before breakfast kind of a person. So I wasn't happy. And I thought, what would I rather do today? And it was organized. So I created a company that I did that for wealthy people in Dallas. And didn't have a business degree, didn't understand what it took to scale. So a buddy of mine introduced real estate as a, residential agent to be able to make some funds to pump into marketing, advertising systems, and people to grow that business. However, when I got involved with learning about real estate, I just really fell in love with the investing side after getting my license and realized, oh my God, like anything that is touching the ground, anything you see is literally real estate, and you can find a way to add value to it and be able to, again, use that creativity to create dollars too. So it made a lot of sense. And when I got into first leasing as an agent, and then into selling homes, like small $100,000 homes, lots, then it kind of increased from there. Residential broker for, up to $1 million homes. It took a few different transactions for me to try to figure out what was a niche that worked for me. And I really didn't like representing people, and met through Propelio, if you guys have ever heard of that.
Oh, yeah.
I was on an all-female show that they had, where we had someone that, flipped houses, bought notes, had a title company, somebody else did apartment syndications, like all of us did different things. And it was really inspiring to me after meeting Will Crozier to do the same thing and be able to use my scale and platform to be able to actually do something in the world and have influence. So that's really what I saw was, okay, the real estate part is stable, makes sense. On the back of that, I can use that reputation and what I've done for my investors to serve a bigger purpose. And so I really fell in love with what he had done with doing that. But, he has different causes and purposes, but, same thing. Really wanted to be able to do the same thing long term, and saw that as a quicker way to get there than waiting to start a 501c3 when I was, 40, 50, 60, whatever, waiting till the end of life. I wanted to get going now.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a rare Will Crozier sighting in America, it sounds like.
I love Will.
Which is very rare.
Will's a good buddy of ours.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah. So you went through the journey, right? So you had your other business, and then, wanted the time freedom, and, it's really about who you connected with and networked with to kind of introduce you to the other side of this real estate game, right, per se. And so you moved into, was it flipping first, or is it kind of those small baby steps, or did you do a few of those and you're like, all right, after meeting Will, after being on Propelio, you're like, let's just go full boat?
It was 2 years of kind of a lot of stuff happening at the same time. I'm not one to really say, oh, I'm going to do one thing very slowly and be very scared of it and try, it's not me.
Sure.
So I started in leasing apartments, and then because that didn't revolve around any kind of legal documentation, I was too afraid at the time to do anything involving legal, because in our classes, an agent, basically it's 180 hours of how not to get your broker sued. They just get you scared, basically. Yeah. So I was like, I don't want to do that. So I was too scared at first, but I did something, got really good at it, hired a VA, doubled my production, I suppose, per month. And then the company really didn't like, me using outside people to do that. And so they just made it a huge issue. And I was like, look, I need the freedom to be able to ramp up my sales and find ways to do it. And if you guys aren't creative and you're not innovative, is what I like to say, then this is not a good fit. So I got into, right after that, into selling those homes by myself as an LLC brokerage owner. So doing my own thing with someone else who owned 1% of my company, and I had 99% of it. And so then I started hiring a few agents and realized I was not a fan of that at all. yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Just curious why.
Preaching to the choir.
Curious. Hold on. Why is that, Kaylee?
I wasn't, let's just say it like this. I wasn't mature enough at the time when I started to do that to realize what it really took to be a good leader of people and a shepherd of people and be able to grow them in their life. And so it really does take mentorship, and it really does take a lot of patience and a lot of respect of other people to be able to be a good leader. And so there's a lot of skills I'm still working on that all revolve around those things now. But now it's kind of, I don't want to say I can hide, but kind of like I don't have to individually work with the property manager every single day. Like they know what they're doing. And in the meantime, I can work on how am I going to hold this meeting? How am I going to speak with respect? How am I going to paint the vision for them and then let them execute, So it kind of, and also in a team of other GPs like myself who also want to foster an environment of respect and be able to have team members that are growing with you and staying with you for life. Also, they help me too, to be able to balance and delegate even those meetings and interactions. So this has been helpful. I don't know. I just wasn't mature enough. And honestly, when it came to people getting to the place in their life where their credit score was tanking because they bought a car while we're in a transaction, calling me at 6 a.m. or on the week, I could never have a weekend. It was just like, I'm drained. And then you're calling me about their loan. And I'm like, to me, I'm very logical. And I'm like, that's your lender. Don't call me, and that would really offend people. So I'm like, this is just not for me. I have to be more mature to deal with other people's feelings. And I wasn't, I suppose, as nurturing at the time or patient enough to deal with it. So it's a me thing for sure.
Gotcha.
Well, I mean, it's a really interesting point. I mean, you say it's patience and nurturing and being a you thing. I also think it's about intentions. Nick and I lead residential sales teams. Matt's a leader in sales as well. And it's a journey, and I also think that for the most part, a lot of entrepreneurs, they build businesses with the intention of trying to get out of doing stuff as quickly as possible, and it's like the worst intentionality to have around leadership, especially in residential sales. If you're going to build a residential sales team, it's like, how do I get a whole bunch of agents so that they'll do all the stuff? And then I'll make all the money, right? And I'll answer a few questions. And like I can count how many agents that we know that have tried to start teams, and they have not had that mind and eye and servant's heart for leadership. And you don't realize, like, one, it's actually way more work than just selling houses on your own. So you don't like give that away at all. And two, like if you don't actually have a mind for growing and pouring into the people and have a real, like, that is where your passion is at, it's super not fun and mentally draining all day, every day, and it's not for everybody.
Yeah. I think it's also part of the whole classic evolution from being a founder to a CEO.
Yes.
Right? There's a lot of really great people out there that have a great idea and can get it off the ground, but maybe the CEO and the management part of it just isn't for them, right? And I think one of the things I was thinking about while Kaylee was giving that last answer was, you got to find what gives you energy and what takes your energy away. Yep. And for some people, they get energy from the strategy design and the go-to-market and the execution, but perhaps not on the people skills. And that's fine. It's all about identifying what compels you and brings you into it, and then delegating the rest or avoiding the rest.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I can only speak to being a small business owner, at this point in time where, and you're getting started, right? You really do. I don't care what anyone says. You really do have to do the whole thing yourself and be able to know how to get yourself from, like, look at what's working and create a process out of what's working. And until you can kind of get to that point, you can't really effectively delegate. Or if you don't know what the key performance indicators of that job should look like every week or whatnot, you really can't hand it over without becoming frustrated because it's, back to you and your lack of explanation, understanding, structure, KPIs, SOPs. But so you have to be able to kind of get over your ego in the beginning of a smaller business and be able to literally do everything. And now I'm in a position where we get like 3 more deals at this point in the cycle and what we're doing, where I now have a partner that's kind of another me and has the same skill sets, yet is a little bit more like PC and is a little bit more, I have managed teams in the corporate world for a long time, so much better at certain things than I am. So we can kind of balance some of those. And then another person everyone always needs before that scale, I think, that I've had in the background, but now they're stepping forward as somebody to be part of the business, is sort of a COO or someone who's like the ultimate pessimist. somebody who like hates people and is like, you can play good cop, bad cop. They see all the problems in every idea that you come up with. So instead of me doing the go to market, like, bam, let's go, they're like, yeah, there's 19 ideas and 19 of them or 20 ideas, 19 of them are crap. So let's look at number 20 and you go do the go-to-market strategy, do some research, some supply demand, figure out if we're going to do that. And you go for it because I'm just a go-getter, but also not wasting money, not wasting time, not losing people. You got to have you have to have people to poke holes in your ideas. So that's another thing that I would say before delegating is being able to have proven ideas and be able to have standard processes and things that you can actually delegate to people so that they can get it done.
I love that. I love that. And just so you guys know, right, I just want to be clear about this. I partner with you guys so you can be the more PC side of our business.
I was about to say this. I love that everybody that we talk to on this show or in any of the stuff that we do, when they talk about replacing themselves, their replacement always needs to be more PC than that. It's like a running theme.
If I'm the more PC one, we're
in trouble.
We are in deep trouble.
And I do love the idea. One of the things that we don't put enough stake or value in as entrepreneurs is the value of a healthy pessimist in our world.
Yeah.
Just because as you progress, the stakes tend to get higher, right? You don't have to have any pessimism if you're just starting out and you're selling houses as a realtor. You can try a million different things, and if they all fail, whatever, there's like nothing but upside. But as you start to grow into being a GP and millions of dollars on the line, it pays dividends to have somebody to poke a lot of holes in your ideas, because us as entrepreneurs have no problem failing forward. That can also bite you at times.
Do you have someone that's looking at the risk profile of everything that you're signing? Do you have somebody that's looking at the risk profile of the people that are in your business? Do you have somebody that, that pessimism is, saves a lot of money, saves a lot of failure. Yeah.
We have pessimism and cynicism checked off. We're not going to tell you who's who yet.
Fair enough.
So as we walk through this cycle, as we walk through your journey on this, right? So you went into note buying, you did flipping, private lending, and then you moved into now full-time syndicating, which all those other spaces you could have gone full-time on. So what attracted you into the full-time syndication part of this and really attracted you into becoming the apartment queen?
The note that I did was sort of like a syndication, but not a legal one. So we just kind of pooled our funds together and split a house, basically. And I only put $5,000 in. That did kick out cash flow monthly for a couple of years, except for spots during 2020. So it was stable and great, but it was really that thing that got me okay with the idea of passive investing, okay with the idea of investing, because I saw that it was real, but I wasn't making much money. Plus with the fees in your IRA account, like it almost kind of like ate up a lot of the returns. Yeah. So it was good to see it happen, but I knew that that was not the business for me, because feeling what it was like being a passive, I was like, that really didn't make me excited. It didn't change my life, So I was like, I'm glad I did it that way. And then flipping houses, there were just so many people that I got involved with. Again, I didn't know how to do the number one thing you have to do. Number one, trust but verify. But like they never teach you in college or in this industry anyway, like how to do that, And now I know how to. And I've actually started a security company where essentially I know exactly, I know everything. Let's just say that. So
when the cell and the phone in the basement.
Yeah.
Before we go into bed with each other, money wise, like that has to be checked. Like there's so many, Anyway, so the house notes thing didn't seem to be for me. Dealing with people's emotions constantly during the week, trying to represent them. I wasn't patient enough at the time. So again, sometimes timing is just right. Maybe now I'm more patient and I would do it. However, there's different things I need now. When it came to leasing apartments, I enjoyed it. But there wasn't enough upside. Even if I had 10 of me working for me, I had 2 people, doubling what we were doing, but it just, collections were horrible. And it was just, none of these things were a platform for me to be able to take care of women that maybe didn't have financial independence. And I didn't see, that's like ultimately what I wanted to do with my life. And so that didn't make sense. And then when I got into flipping houses, that made a little more sense, where maybe I could choose the person. If I did a BRRRR strategy, I could choose the tenant that was in there and try to help out a mom that had kids, etc. But I was like, damn, that's like one house at a time. Like, how much impact am I really going to make? This doesn't make sense. And the challenges that I ran up into, which were basically a lack of skills I had at the time, Like, for example, dealing with contractors as usual, trying to put liens on the property, trying to say, you need to pay me, I'm liening your property, and clouding your title, and learning how to get around all that because they just do it because they want their party money. I'm like, well, finish the plumbing, then I'll pay you. How about that? It's pretty simple. But it was like just again, these micro problems, which is I have to deal with a burned down property now. And my first house that I did was a meth house. So it was really challenging. And I had to do everything from like plumbing all the way up through the roof, the decking, everything, because there was a fire. So you have these lessons for a reason, but it just, again, didn't seem like a scalable platform for me to be able to reach out to women and give them a way to have executive positions and make more money, for them to be able to speak about their story, for them to be able to have a community of other moms that maybe they can babysit each other's kids. That scale was obvious to me when it came to apartments. And so specifically syndication just seemed to be at the time the vehicle, how people were getting it done who were not independently wealthy. So it just made logical sense.
Sure. And making that transition, right? Obviously, that's, I think, for probably most people listening to this podcast, if you've never jumped in as a GP or even an LP, right? Like, there's that, okay, like, I see the opportunity, I have a vision, I got to rip the Band-Aid off and just go in. I either got to make that first investment or I've got to find that first deal, right? Like, how did that process look for you after you decided syndication is the way that I need to go? Take us through what it looked like to actually get a deal done.
Well, first deal, it was really a process before that of learning, because I know that, I'm a lady, right? And women, I think as a gender, I have learned really do not spend $1,000 if they don't understand what they're investing into. And so I would say I'm like that to some extent, but also I'm not going to sit there for 5 years and do nothing. So it took me 2 years of going to someone that I met through Will. Actually, he was working with Alex was his name. Alex is active. Will had kind of retired and moved over to the Philippines. And so Will introduced me to him. And I learned through his properties, how are you guys underwriting? How are you managing construction teams?
Sure.
So he would do the construction, his wife would do the property management. And so I kind of got to learn from both of them, realizing later on it was a benefit to him to have me be the guinea pig, because he was then later going to be a mentor for lifestyle. So I was like the first mentee, I suppose. And so I never really understood, why they wanted to work with me. But later on, I found out we stand for justice and we stand up against bullies and things like that. But so it worked out for both of us. But I guess getting into my first couple of deals, it came from learning first for a good 2 years and going to every conference known to man that was around syndications, apartments. I wanted to see how all the different groups underwrote, how all the different groups, they don't really go into the super nitty-gritties of their operating agreements or their PPMs, for example, which really at this point, that's what I knew that I needed.
Sure.
Plus, obviously, partnering with someone with experience so that they're so that they are not a proven bad actor or they have some experience, and I didn't do that first. So when I did one, it came from the fact that I kept looking at deals that were coming out on brokers' lists on market. And then I would underwrite them, and every once in a while get one that seemed like it kind of worked financially. So then I would show my mentor, and he's like, well, show me what you think works. And I would, and he's like, well, go there now, go tour, and so he just kind of pushed me to go do that next thing. And I just listened and did it. And most of them didn't work out for a while, but I was trying while I was learning for 2 years. I almost wanted to jump in like first thing, you know what I mean? But just the universe wouldn't allow that,
Yeah.
And I think the universe being brokers and the bank and all kinds of different things. But after 2 years, there were a couple of deals that popped up in the middle of nowhere, Texas. He had already underwritten them because they were close to a deal that he still had out there. But at the time he was focused on looking at everything in Phoenix. And so he's like, look, I don't have time to manage these or to really bother with due diligence or any of this kind of stuff, but you can use my manager. You can have our construction team go over to yours. It's like the next city over. So you have some scale. And I said, okay, that makes sense. And obviously he understands what he's getting for his insurance expense, what the tax expenses are. It's the same county. So all of my underwriting would be pretty accurate because it would be based on actuals. So he just said, hey, do you want to underwrite this and tell me what you think? And I did. And I think it was like, I don't know, a 25 IRR or something like that. Hey. on the low end. And I think it was like 15% cash on cash annualized or something like that on the low end. And it was a pain in the tuchus because it was a PITA, because you had to drive, I think it was like 5.5 hours or 4.5 hours or something to this tiny town to go, meet with the property manager and make sure things are getting done. But I did it for like 2.5 years. So it was really just by chance that I kept trying and trying. And then someone else had something that they wanted to go for, could not. And they had seen me consistently show up and really believed in me, I guess, that I could figure it out, even though I hadn't raised or syndicated before. And so they just said, hey, I'll hold your hand through it. We can potentially be partners, maybe not. We'll see how it works. And it was just opportunity met preparation, I guess.
Met preparation, and that's the big thing. That is, I mean, there's a lot there, but the takeaway that I immediately is like, you went out and you learned, and not just learned from reading a million books, but you actually took action as far as like underwriting and things like that. Things like a Joe Fairless, maybe it's him, he talks about it a lot. He's like, you want to learn to underwrite deals, just go underwrite 100 deals, right? Doesn't even mean you need to have any of the network or connections or anything to even go raise the money yet, but you can just go get on a Marcus and Millichap list and you'll get deals coming through to your inbox.
Just start practicing.
Underwrite 100 deals and you'll realize, like, all of a sudden, when you're in conversations with other investors in your network, like, things start to click. They make more sense. You're a lot more competent. And then that competent translates into confidence. And then you can go and get stuff done.
And then I think it's also, right, the concept of your network is your net worth, right? Kaylee had someone who she trusted to lead her in the right direction. And obviously he trusted her to put her best foot forward and try to execute. And it's a matter of time before one of them says, hey, I have this deal, I don't have the time for it, or it's outside of my buy box, or I'm focusing on a different geo, but it looks good. Here, take it, right? And I think that's really part of the fulfillment of giving back.
And people, like, that's something that's so hard to wrap your head around when you're not involved in these types of networks and circles. It's like, people want others to succeed.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? Like, the biggest opportunities you're going to have are going to come from other people who that opportunity is just maybe not right for them right now. But they want you to run with it.
Agreed.
And then they want you to succeed. And that's huge.
There's something I learned in life, that you don't get anything without going through other people, period. Like, you don't get anything. Like, I literally came out of another person. Like, you do not get anything through life without going through another person. Everyone holds in their hands what you want. So communication and giving and being able to help people get where they want to go, those skills are what you have to get anything.
Love that.
And as you're going through that first deal, right, because you started taking the action to learn it, and there's multiple steps, and by the way, in just syndicating in general. So it's finding the property, underwriting it, and then those are the first steps, which, that's, from a scary standpoint, it's not that scary because you haven't committed anything yet. But then you start to make the commitment to send that LOI, put it under contract, and then you start looking at the number. So walk us through the number part of that, if you can go back, in time on that one, and just your mindset of making sure that you were going to see this thing through to a successful raise and a successful close, and then ultimately, hopefully, a successful dispo.
It was the first one, right? So it was, at the time, I think, the scariest thing I'd ever done. And really, to show my commitment to get these things under contract, I put down the earnest money from all of my real estate agent commissions that I had at the time. And so these were smaller deals, under $1 million each before we sold them. So that is doable, and I mean, it was really tough. Like, for example, to engage my attorneys, their retainer fee, I put it on a credit card. I didn't have the cash, after I put down that earnest money. So you figure it out, and then there was one point in time where I also needed to put in additional earnest money, I think, because we went over a certain time frame and there's extensions that require more earnest money. Yeah. And so I had to put more down than I already did. And so I had a closing in residential, as I'm like teeter-tottering between the two before that transition happened, for a couple of years. Like, when you're doing a startup business, like, you've got to kind of have a gig and then transition into it. But I was like, I have to cough up 10 grand. I don't know where that's going to come from. So I had a closing that was happening, and it didn't happen. And I mean, again, it was just about your network is your net worth. And I come from a pretty disorganized family where we really don't watch out for each other and take care of each other at all. So I'm used to doing it on my own. But this person that I met, I said, hey, I'm in a spot, he goes, tell me what's going on. And he ended up fronting the money. And within a week I had closed and paid him back or whatnot, but I just was blown away that he would even offer that.
Wow.
I just was not used to that in my life at all. It was just kind of like, well, if you can't figure it out, sucks to suck, you know? So I'm forever grateful for somebody.
That's actually the Deep Blue Capital model.
Sucks to suck.
It is now.
That's why y'all are laughing. Bummer, you know. Yeah, so that was incredible to get going, and I guess to see it through, it was just like the capital raise. It was my first one, and so the only way that people would invest with me was like my friends' parents from college. I went to Texas A&M, or people that were retirement account holders, or like if someone invested, they might have another friend that invested, and they would do it together. So like pairs of two or something like that. Or so what happened was went under contract on one. And then it was pretty cool. Like it's interesting how the universe works. It was 26 units, and then there was out in the middle of nowhere. And then there was another apartment right around the corner where the mother of the property who owned it, Joy, I think her name was, she passed away. And so the executor of their estate was the local banker in town, I think, and he was a lawyer too. And anyway, so he found out that we were buying the other property. And so I wish he would have come directly to me, but he went to our broker, you know, and said, hey, would they buy this one too? And so we said, yeah. There really was like a legal pad rent roll, you know what I mean? Not a whole lot of financials to count on, but the property was, you know, this was 6 years ago.
Sure.
And the property was 1975 build, pitched roof, 1975 vintage, all individual, everything. So it was a good, and then we never had any problems with it too, which was awesome. So I thought it was a slam dunk. It ended up being a slam dunk for sure. We more than doubled that one, but getting the money just raised was like the hardest thing. I just kept we got up against, you know, okay, another extension. And I had never done it before. So I had just promised Alex that he goes, if you're going to do this, like you have to promise me you're going to do everything you can to close this. Like you can't not close this. And I go, so I guess if I have to take a second mortgage out of my house, he goes, yeah, whatever it takes, like you got to do it. So I had just promised I would. And through pitching and talking to people, it got done. It was, wow. and it wasn't that much money. I think it was like, I don't even remember, a total of like $500K raise or something like that. Not even, I don't even remember, but that was so hard when you don't have a track record. And I kept having to get my, what do you call him? Not mentor, I guess. My advisor on the phone with me to talk it through with other investors to let them know, hey, we've got a guy here who's had multiple exits. He's doing more deals in Dallas. He's guiding me through this. He actually ended up being a partner on one of them, so he was in it. And he's very patient and good and kind and knowledgeable and has just a great attitude. So they did it, I think, because of him, you know? So, yeah.
Nice. So did you do... That's amazing. So you got your first raise done, and you pounded the pavement. You did all the stuff that people shy away from that you knew you needed to do, but it was the scariest thing you've ever done in your life. It was incredibly stressful. You get to closing day, and did you do the thing that all of us crazy people do, where you're just like, now you're ready to go bigger and do it all over again? Like,
well, not yet. I still had to, for the first time, take the business plan that I had put together for the PPM or private placement memorandum, and then execute that. And so that was, again, a learning experience of trying to, I was so lucky that I had Alex's construction team on that deal. And unfortunately, David's not really doing this anymore, but David was so good. He understood like the business model. So he's like, okay, for amenities on the exterior, I need 50% down. We'll get it done 50% afterwards. But for your unit interiors, like, I'm not going to charge you anything. Here's the scope of what we'll do. Raise this much and we'll try to get it down. But essentially what we're going to do is, you have a vacant unit. Our job is to get in there and turn it. So you get a head in there, and so that way you can pay, and then you'll pay me in full once you have a human in there, So wow. He knew and trusted that manager who was also working my sponsors, other deals close by. And so he knew that Jamie was her name, that she could quickly go lease it up, wow. Using Facebook. So he was comfortable turning people in pay, so he did a great job. And so, net, like after a year, we got the whole thing finished with amenities and all the units turned and new people and higher rents and more fees and a laundry room full of equipment that we owned, and just basically executed the business plan like we said we would. And towards the end of it, 2 years-ish in, I think it was like 2 years and 6 months. I have a case study on it. I just can't remember. But 2 years and 6 months in, we sold. But I think it was like at 2 years where it was, we were just, collecting more money. Like
Right.
that's it. So
Nice.
at that point, then actually after the first year, after all the construction was kind of done, then I started getting involved with other people who I thought I wanted to do 1,000 doors. And so yes would be the answer to your question. Oh, okay, we did it. Now let's do 1,000,
Yeah.
But it wasn't right away. It was like after about a year, because I was like, hold on, let me make sure I can do this. I'm in it. And then it was like, I don't know, 200 unit deal over there, 48 unit deal over there, 133 unit deal over there, whatever. But I was doing it in a way where I wasn't the lead, as some groups call it, where I have visibility over everything. And I'm like kind of the sole person that makes sure that this thing gets executed properly on time. And I was willing at that time, seeing that, I'm pretty young, I don't have that much experience yet. I was able to get in here and execute the construction and execute the revenue goals that we had and get it to the point to list it. So I was like, this isn't complete rocket science. Again, we didn't have a chiller. We didn't have all the other things that could be fun, but I got some confidence to kind of to partner with other people. And at that time, I did not know how to trust but verify. So that's a whole nother thing. But yes is the answer. I just was like, 1,000 units. Let's do it.
Nice. So, Kaylee, how many deals have you been either a sponsor or a GP or a co-GP on since these first two?
I've been a GP, co-GP on every single one of them, so 10 now. And I've been lead sponsor, I suppose, on 1, 2, 3, 4. I just took over another one recently, so it's 5. We're under contract on another one as of Friday, so that's 6. So 6.
Nice. Impressive. So
that's in how many years?
6. Yes. Well, I didn't. Let's see. 2019, 19, 18, 19.
5, 6 years.
5 years. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
that is great. Yeah.
It
So is that a
feels so
total of
slow, though.
16 or is that a total of 10 and 6 that you're the lead on?
That's a total of 10 and 6 I'm lead on.
Nice. That's impressive. So just curious, I have so many questions, but the Apartment Queen brand has grown tremendously since I think you and I first connected on Facebook years ago. And by the way, Kaylee delivered a great presentation to my sales team at RealPage a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Like, tell us a little bit more about your journey with the Apartment Queen brand and how you are going to, or what you're doing to empower women inside commercial real estate.
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing because I've also had to learn a whole different thing. Like I had these ideas, right? But then you have to actually look at it in the real world and see how things are actually working, and then figure out how to orient yourself to have strategy around how things really work to meet your goals. So I won't get too much into opinions about certain things, but essentially what I have noticed is there are not a lot of women as principals in multifamily real estate. And so my team, I've also learned we have to have men help us to be able to get deals. I mean, we have to have men to be able to help us on the construction site. There's a lot of construction that I've managed, and a lot of the trouble that I've gotten into has to deal with lots of intimidation, lots of fraud, lots of pressure, unnecessary pressure, and really it's abuse because maybe, our gender is supposed to be more soft in our approach and not cuss at people and not yell at them and tell them what to do. And so because we're trying to stay feminine, that's maybe perceived as weak by somebody who's got more of like a caveman level or Neanderthal level understanding of like how to work with people. So I just don't want to become a man or become very manly. And so I've had to learn that, if I have this older man that is very emotionally intelligent and kind to women and makes the women in our office feel comfortable, and he's not saying gross things and he's not yelling at people, yet he can mobilize the guys because of how he looks and his 38 years as an engineer, that's someone that I need to deploy to meet our goals. And I need to separate myself from that person who's causing me issues to be able to continue to focus on where the brand is going versus being in the weeds and actually causing more issues for the business because of just how people behave and having to be okay with that. A lot of what we do is number one, so partners, my original partner that's been with me on 4 or 5 deals now, she's a lady that's in California. I'm trying to get her to a position where she can take over asset management, move here and move her sons here. It'll be a few years though before she can move. So she does a lot of things remote that, really have to do the financial analysis. She's a data analyst full time. So that's somebody that is, I'm working to pay her more and more and more each deal, and then trying to put her on salary because that's actually what she wants. But what does that look like? What is being fair in paying people look like? So, being fair, having emotionally intelligent partners, being able to also put women in C-suite positions where they're paid fairly. Then also, to be honest with you, if I get a choice, depending on whether it's like a vendor, like a legal vendor or some others, there is a legal vendor that I really like their business model and how honest they are and how real and anyway, I just won't get into it, but they have a lady on their team. And what I find also is if there's an opportunity to hire a woman that has a better skill set for certain things, like that's who I'm going to hire. So in that position in legal, she tends to be high detail, and a lot of women are typically like very high detail. And so when it comes to talking to other people, when it comes to making sure the whole team is on board with every detail of what's going on instead of like bypassing people, Rachel's really good at doing that. So I would prefer to work with her, and the whole team stays very much in the loop. Anyway, so there's things that we do to help people in our company become more financially empowered. And then also on our properties, also we have a crowd fund. I'm going to relist it on a new site recently or soon here. That crowd fund allowed people that were not accredited, not sophisticated, like my grandma who had $5,000. That's it, to invest in a deal. Normally they would never get access to it, especially if they're not accredited because of certain criteria they have to meet. However, that crowd fund allows for women to be able to get started sooner with less money to get on that compound interest curve to grow their wealth over time sooner than later. And then also we have incentives. Once our fund is full, it's not there yet, the crowd fund and the other, that once it's closed and we have the money mobilized, basically, a woman in their life can be put on their platform in where you normally would put your spouse. It could be your spouse, but some lady in your life that you want to teach about this type of investing who maybe doesn't have the money or is too scared to get involved because it seems like such a big thing to be like, oh, an apartment owner, and helping her to log into the same portal, read access only, and see updates, what goes wrong, how we fix it, when they get a distribution. And one of the future things that's kind of far out because I'm so focused in the weeds right now would be to literally, when he gets a check, and women can be mentors too, but essentially what that does is they get a higher preferred return than the other investors for doing that, because we want to push our mission to create $1 billion invested by, for, and with women by 2030. So there's a couple of things that we do.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I love that. I mean, just from I see, I come from a very strong alpha female family, and I see that in a lot of marriages, the wives just have no clue on finances. Right. And I mean, I'm the executor of my brother's estate, and I'm going through that right now. And I think that's a massive mission that I hope that more people get involved in. What has been some of the, because I've got, just like you, Matt, I've got so many questions to go deep on that, which, for me as a male, obviously, that it's hard for me to say, like, I want to go and really do this, go down that niche as well. What have you found on the capital raising side? Where has been your challenges with that? Are you seeing, especially on the accredited, are you seeing that most of that still if they are married, their husbands are getting involved, or they don't know their finances, so that they're having to bring their partner in?
I get a mixed bag of things, but essentially, okay, so when we haven't had a deal for 2 years, we haven't bought anything for 2 years, I've been spending that time. I have a couple of lead sources that come in, and then I do a qualification call. I talk to them. So since I'm not in a rush, I haven't been, I just want to get to know the investor. And really part of our conversation always revolves around values. I ask them literally, how do they feel about having a woman in their life be able to see their investments, be able to understand them? How do they feel about, and what's funny is I find that a lot of men are attracted to our offerings because they are girl dads. They do have a strong female partner. They do have maybe like already have an established financial conversation that they're having, or they're in a portion of their life where they're trying to be clear about how they're leaving things to people, and not just wealth building, but anyway, so they're kind of already thinking what I'm thinking. And so every once in a blue moon, I will get someone who's like, she doesn't care, I'm not going to tell her nothing, and it's like, okay, well, we're not a good match. There are plenty of other syndicators out there that want your money, and I don't. So for me, it's just important to me. And one thing I've noticed that I've learned, you have all these ideas of how things work, but until you really test it in the market and see like who's on your investor cap table, like who actually puts money in, pay attention to that type of person. How can we leverage what is actually happening and then use it to get to our goals? First of all, reality is key. So reality for us, I've learned, looking at the most amount of money that's been invested or accredited investors, typically what we get is couples. So you'll see both of their names. So it's couples, or usually it's like a girl dad, someone that's a father that wants the women in their family to do well. So again, they found me because that's important to them. But I've had to change our marketing a little bit to like dads, brothers, boyfriends, husbands, like the male part of the equation, because that's where all the money is. That's what I've had to realize based on the data. And so to be able to bring it over here, let's have her even invest in that, like you guys have co-ownership in that new LLC for that entity that you're investing in. Or if that's like so out of whack for you, like she could at least have access to get the education, or a hybrid of the two. Or, you do your investment. She also invests on her own, like a little bit less through the crowd fund, 5,000. He puts in 100,000, and they are able to talk to each other about what's going on and feel like that safety. And she's also getting her own returns. So there's a couple different ways to do it, but we talk about, values alignment. And I think that's really important. Like a lot of people have said, oh, this is great marketing. And I'm like, it's not marketing. Like for me, first single family, and then having my own house, and also having my own apartment. So real estate has saved my butt several times when I have made mistakes of cyclical behaviors that I've had that have caused me not to financially watch out for myself. I will give it to other people. I'll pay other people first. Just really crazy things if you ask me. But now I've kind of gotten over that, and I've stopped doing that behavior. And every time though, when I did make the behavior and then I had a high and then a low, real estate saved me every time, whether it was a place to live, passive income, like tax benefits. So I didn't have to pay that tax bill, like whatever it was. Real estate has saved me. And so we just want to focus on what the market's actually telling us is out there and where the money comes from, and then kind of like cross market to move the money in the direction that we want it to go.
Well, I will say that we've been paying attention because we started our company that was called Stay Hard. And so Stay Hard Capital. Yeah.
We've gotten that reaction quite a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hence why it's now Deep Blue Capital.
Yeah, which is why we changed it. And it wasn't anything other than we wanted, don't you want to keep your money hard and always working? It wasn't anything other than that.
It's just bullshitting around.
And
I
thought it was like...
Well, that too.
Well, that too is better.
Yeah, that too.
Yes.
But, a lot of our investors in our projects have been, females. And so that was one of the comments that we had heard, and so we are starting to see more women wanting to invest and learn and grow their wealth and passive income and have tax strategies and everything else like that. So we attribute that to you because your marketing's working, and your mission's more your mission.
Oh my God, that's so cool that you just said that, because that's really the biggest win for me is like, even like, what is it? Imitation is the highest form of flattery or whatever. Yeah. I've seen so many other women in different circles, like this is now their focus. And like, I think that's an amazing thing. I don't think of it as like competition. Actually, what I'm trying to do is like invest her and like all the different groups. I'm actually trying to get us all together to just have one big ass meetup, like a big group of people. Because I'm like, why are we like, if we all want to make money, if we all have opportunities to invest, we have the education, that's really what the three things are. Why not put it together? And I'm just also tired of doing everything myself. Sure. So that would be my goal.
Added bonus.
So I love that you just said that, because that's my hope. That's my hope and dream, is that it's actually creating some kind of an influence. I want to be influential. I am influential, and be able to use that influence to affect more women and get that $1 billion, invested by, for, and with them.
Love it. Quick question. I don't know if you have any of this handy, but can you give us an idea of like the reach that the Apartment Queen and your efforts have?
I stopped doing SEO like a year ago. I need to do it again because we just haven't had any raises, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it costs money to do all this stuff. And I stopped doing my podcast. I stopped doing ads. I stopped doing all the things. And so it's gone way down. I mean, I think my traffic every day, because I look at Google Analytics, on my phone, I think it's like 200 people or something. It's gone way down.
A day?
No, a week.
Okay. Still good.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
way down. Great. It used to be like I don't know, 5 figures,
Yeah.
And then when it comes to our mailing list, I would say there's probably genuine about like 6,000 investors that I have met, fed, spoken in front of, something like that. And so they're real people. There's a couple of other lists of CEOs and entrepreneurs that I've gotten from other entrepreneur groups where, I help them do something and then they're like, oh, here's the list of all the CEOs that are in our program, market to them. So I have 21,000 people in our CRM right now for investors.
Wow.
But then I also have, I think if I pull it up, I just had this, there's like 35 or let's see, how many are in this column? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 16, 17, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, about 40. Yeah, I had a good guess. About 40 different capital raisers or people that have raised money before that we've talked before about like them getting ready to help us get a deal closed. So That's not including pref brokers that we're now talking to who obviously have their own networks of family offices and other individuals that have money to do deals like this. But so yeah, that's, I guess, the summary. About 40 capital raisers, about 20, genuinely 6,000 investors. We've had 400 plus investors invest in all of our deals so far. Wow. Currently, I think there's like 40 because we sold half of everything and we're about to sell 2 of them. So, and then some of them are also in common. Obviously, they keep going deal to deal. So. Right. So that's, I guess, the stats I can kind of think about.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I would definitely recommend if you want to start the podcast back up to Tour Studios. That's who we run ours through. And
you might know a guy.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
Just text them and say best beard ever, and you'll get a discount.
Best beard ever. Tourstudios.com. But
is it beard like BEER?
No, beard. Sorry, I'm from New York. I don't say the D's. So you just drop the D.
You can't see our producer right now. I sit on the other side of this table. He has a majestic.
We'll make an introduction afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, okay. So you mentioned, Kaylee, that you haven't. We want to be respectful every time. So just a couple final questions.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you haven't purchased anything in 2 years, and you finally got a deal under contract. So, like, was that intentional? Were you waiting? Were you like waiting to deploy capital, waiting for the right opportunity? Tell us a little bit about why you're waiting and why you're buying again.
I mean, yes and no. I think we had our principles as far as what kind of return profile we wanted to get our investors. So, if you can place your money in a high yield bond, like what would be the point in us bringing an offering to you or an investment that would actually surpass on your returns and potentially be a little bit less risky. So, it's a lot of work to do these deals. Holy crap. And I've had a couple of my own have challenges, like major challenges. And so also being very focused and making sure that I have at least a direct plan of action to exit them, fix the problem, know exactly what we're doing and not have, like it has several times, 7 issues at a time on one deal blow up. And then I'm like, okay, this is legal. This is mechanical. This is, and you really have to focus. So part of it was me just saying, unless it's like a sweet deal, I'm not going to get unfocused from these issues I've got to solve. So that's part of it. And then also the market doing what it's been doing. We haven't found very many deals that underwrite or, to where the seller is within, even $1 million of where the NOI makes sense to offer for the deal. So it's just been really hard to find anything that works. And then also, again, having to stay focused on current challenges to get on the other side of that. And I think that also was something I wanted to do because there are people that are like watching me, that knew me 7 years ago, that have seen these things pop up and they know I can get through it. But also there's like proof of concept. When you get through it, I know that like raising money is going to be a joke because it's like, I've had to pick up problems that other people have just with 10 years more experience have just been like, I'm not going to fix this. I'm just going to take the money and run, So I'm just like, oh my God. So part of it is, again, building that competence, staying focused, and then wanting a really good deal or a deal that actually met our principles. So the deal now does. So it made sense to move forward with it.
Love it. Congrats.
We've seen very, very similar things on our end as far as just the divergence between seller and buyer expectations. And I think things are starting to come back into view a little bit. Yeah. We're definitely seeing deal flow pick up. So it's an exciting time for a lot of the money that's on the sidelines, I think.
Especially if you guys are looking in Houston, like my buddy Dustin. We do voice text all the time. And he's, I think an LOI just got accepted for him Saturday on a deal in Houston. And I think they've purchased like 6 or so deals in Houston recently that are pretty big,
Yeah.
200 to 500 unit size, 2013-ish build properties, and they're getting them right now below what the original buyer paid for them. You know, again, that's Houston, and that's also having your connections. But
Sure.
this deal's in Dallas, and so I want to focus in my backyard so I can kind of be like, what's not working, you know, and not have any wool over my eyes anymore. And so it's been much harder to get something in Dallas, but I mean, Dallas doesn't really have, it's recession resilient. It really doesn't have those major dips and the insurance increases. Yes, we've had them here, don't get me wrong, but they're not as bad as Houston. So there's certain things. That
was going to be my first question about the Houston was what guidance are they giving on underwriting insurance for those deals?
Like $1,500 a unit. Unless you're under like a master policy of a property management company, for example, like Asset Living, I think they have a pretty good master policy. That's the way that Dustin's gotten their insurance down. Or if you have an old owner that has a policy that doesn't lapse for quite a while, being able to assume them and become the beneficiary or assume it. That's another thing that I have another group of women that are in a WhatsApp text, and we're always like talking about, I don't know, who's pigtailing this, and like, how do you get this garbage disposal to do this, and who pays this energy conservation company, and like we'll always trade, you know, loan negotiation secrets, like all kinds of stuff. So they were the ones that we kind of talk about, you know, what is the best way to do it. We were even thinking about doing there's 16 ladies that are all operators in that text, and we're thinking about doing a master policy together, actually. So who knows where that'll go, but
nice. That's awesome.
or a captive, something like that.
That's the thing I love about this business is it's intellectually challenging on so many levels. On the same day, you could be trying to solve a problem that increases, you know, your yield on millions of dollars by a small percentage point, which transforms the deal entirely, and then also be like, where are y'all getting microwaves right now? Like,
see, that's what I love. So Kaylee's helped us flush this out. We got the pessimist, the cynic, and the intellect. We form like Voltron every once in a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look,
like
the pessimist.
tripod.
We can't call our company name that.
It's just as bad, Kaylee.
The pessimist doesn't always work. It only works here when we're underwriting deals, because at home being a pessimist does not work in my house. I will tell you that right now.
Believe it or not, as big a guy as Nick is, and you know he's a little bigger than me. You know, he still makes sure he's got snuggle time with the kids before bedtime.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So if not, my wife is a lot meaner than I am. So tell us real quick before we end this, your book, right? You're an Amazon bestseller. So tell us about your book.
Yes, I'm working on another one. That book was something I put together to be able to actually feature other women when I first got into the industry who taught me a lot of the things that I know. So there's a chapter on someone who's an attorney, a chapter on someone who is a lender, a broker, all of the different things that are involved in a team, a property manager, etc. Insurance, I think, too, but every person that I knew that taught me what I needed to know about conservative assumptions, kind of how to look at scheduling your life a little bit differently than our male counterparts. It's like, you know, well, how does it work if you have kids? What if I want kids? When do you start doing it? Like, how do you weave that into your schedule as each of those professionals, or as a professional doing that? And again, giving me a lot of great advice and sharing their stories of how as a mother, some of them, you know, like are single moms, some are not, as a female professional, how they've made it work well for them in this industry. All of them have been around for quite a long time. So they were all women that I leaned on early on in my career to get started. And I wanted to honor them and share their story with others in the industry.
What's the name of the book?
Women in Multifamily Real Estate.
Nice.
Love it. And
WMFRE.
I like it. And what's the best place for people to reach you? Like, is it just going to your website? Is it connecting with you on social media?
Yeah, I would say go to my website. There's a lot of different things that we offer. I totally skipped this earlier because it's a new thing that's not really, I'm not putting it out there. But I do have a new trademark called Cash Flow Queen. And what I've been doing with some other people in the industry that are lenders, that are family offices, and whoever just like really have not gotten into multifamily. And like, I know soup to nuts, not everything, but just the basics of how it all works, standard processes. I spent those 2 years creating all those SOPs and KPIs of what actually leads to an NOI growth. coaching them doing that. And so I just charge by the hour, taking them through. I will share my SOPs. I will share connections with other people that they're going to need to finance a deal or to be able to get access, or, what manager is going to give them the best advice on the scope that they have for the interior units and getting them the best ROI. All of those things. And even when it comes to like security, safety, making sure, like, I use encrypted servers whenever I'm sending investors any kind of wire information. Everything I do is secure. And again, I have some resources that are now coming into fruition as huge help to be able to recover stolen funds, with the government, because I've been through the worst, so it's like, if you have all these resources, that's really what that's meant for, is like, hey, I've been through it all. Like, what can I help you get access to? And a lot of the people that have hired me to do that either have their own multifamily company and they need the processes, or it's a couple that, like I mentioned, there's a lender doing it. And so Cashflow Queen is something I've been putting together, and then taking the recorded sessions of the meetups that we do, because we also have one every other month now that's in person on a topic, whether it's ground up development, whether we're going to go through PFCs next month, Public Facilities Corps, and how you're able to save taxes on your multifamily properties, like very niche subjects with the experts that are women, recording those and putting them on a platform online. And so I'm growing that platform. I haven't really put it out there. People can subscribe to it and get in there and look, but I know it's kind of ugly right now. So that will come soon. But for now, it's kind of just like coaching and giving them access to learn and have access to the resources. So my site would have that there as well.
Which is?
theapartmentqueen.com.
Love it.
So if you just go to the top tab, there is a page on our fund to be able to invest with us. There is a page on Cashflow Queen if you want to look at that program. And then there are a couple of other things for investor resources, which will lead you to case studies, lead you to my bio and website, SREO, all the information that you want to know about us.
Love it.
Ooh.
Awesome.
No, this has been great.
This is a huge knowledge drop.
Yeah.
Amazing. By the way, Kaylee, like, you're super admirable, and I legitimately love and admire everything that you're doing in the marketplace. And I'm not trying to pat us on the back here. Kaylee is our first female guest that we've had on the show, right?
Really?
And it's episode 12. So I'm going to challenge every other podcaster out there in the multifamily space. Get the ladies involved. Call Kaylee, right? Spread the message. There's enough for everybody to go around. And honestly, like, we need to help support that voice.
Yeah, and here's another lady who is just like absolutely, oh my God, you'd think she was in the military, the way that she runs stuff, but is also, of course, soft. Ashley Wilson, she is just like, just amazing and just very conservative, just does a great job. Oh my God.
Really? Okay, then
everything that she says,
Are you able to connect us with Ashley?
Yeah.
We'll talk after the show.
Yeah.
Love it.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right,
us home, Nick.
Yeah, that was, I'm still going down. Like, I want to be in the WhatsApp. Like, I want to be in, I'm like, I just like to learn. So I'm like, let me in on some of these, please. Because all those challenges we're facing and even the projects I own personally. So today was amazing. Go to theapartmentqueen.com. Go and just sign up and just look around. See what Kaylee's got to offer. It's a lot. My mind is mush right now. So, so if you listen to this or watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment, and then just go to deepbluere.com. That is the sponsor of this show, and sign up to get on that newsletter, right? Because you're going to want to find out the projects that are being analyzed, the deals that we have already closed, and we've got some great case studies on the projects that we've had as well. And if you're looking to place money, deepbluere.com is the place to go. If you're looking to grow that wealth, if you're wanting those tax strategies, like Kaylee said, is sometimes you're not paying taxes, which is
great.
Really
I
cool.
haven't in years.
I haven't in years either.
The government owes me money.
Hey, Kaylee, if you're ever looking for co-GP on a deal, feel free to hit us up, and then Nick and I and Brian we'll throw in some free security at the meetup event, and we'll be the bouncers at the events too.
Is that
okay?
Is that some sort of fucking dig at me?
No, I said Brian too.
You want me to start doing shit like that? I'm not as big as y'all, but damn, like, give me some credit here. I'm trying my best, guys.
I hear you.
Like, oh, and Brian too. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a foot shorter than y'all.
I'm sorry.
That is the best way to end it. So episode 12 is in the books. Join us. Go back and listen to all the other shows, and leave us a review. Go check out theapartmentqueen.com. Thank you, Kaylee, so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kaylee.
Thanks
This is
You
so
got
much.
it.
Thank you.
I forgot to mention one last thing, y'all. Theapartmentqueen.com. Don't forget the at the beginning. And there is a button that will follow you around on the site where you can get qualified for a deal. You just click the button, boom, you'll get qualified.
Love it.
Love it.
Theapartmentqueen.com. We'll have it in the show notes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you,
much,
Kaylee.
Kaylee.
Thank y'all. I appreciate you.